Hello and welcome to Food for Thought. I am Ramona Singh and it's always a pleasure to spend this time with you. And we have a great discussion today. We're going to talk about what is the purpose of life. I know it's something that we've always wondered, and maybe in different phases of your life, you think about, what am I doing here? Why am I in this situation? And these people that are in my life, what does this all mean? Or when good things happen or when bad things happen, we always ask to ourselves or maybe to our loved ones is, what is the purpose of this? So I think it's a great time to be able to discuss this. And even though this is a very short format to talk about such a great topic that we all wonder, and we're going to do our best. And joining me today is the group editor of Y Media, Yudhvir Jaswal. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much, Ramona ji. I couldn't agree more with you. I think this is a great topic today that we're going to discuss. What is the purpose of our life? I think what's the purpose of our life? We all should definitely ask ourselves, and I'm sure most of you would ask yourselves. So why don't we ask our viewers at this time, give it a try, and what is the purpose of your life? Think about it. And as you just mentioned that yes, we may not be able to justify this topic in just 1 hour. And there's another aspect, this is a disclaimer as well, that I always discuss this, that we may not have the exact answer for this one. We're just sharing our experience. So I'm going to share my experience, that what do I think is our purpose of life? Because usually when we do journalism, there are very definitive answers to everything. The GDP numbers, we know these are the GDP numbers that came out. Which country won the last soccer World Cup? We know which country won the last soccer World Cup. Or what's the capital of England? We all know that. So here we are, we're talking about something. I must put out this disclaimer loud and clear that we are just sharing our experience. So if I say for Yudhvir Jaswal, this is the purpose of my life, or for Ramona Singh, if you say that, Ramona ji, this is the purpose of your life, that may not be the purpose of your life. That may or may not be. So we're just going to share our experiences today with you.
Yes, that's fantastic. And so here's the level that I want to talk about it, is that what is like the fact that I'm alive today. So I'm not going to talk about it from a personal perspective, just the fact that I am a spiritual being, I'm a soul, my soul cannot be created nor destroyed, and it is right now inhabiting this body, and I'm a female, and this is what I look like, and my parents gave me a name, and I have a history in terms of my past and where I'm a present day. But I'm going to talk about it, not so much what is Ramona's purpose of life, but what is the fact that you're here, I'm here, what are we all doing here, is the level that I'm going to discuss it at.
Sure. Yeah, do so. And I think another aspect to this is, since you just mentioned, why we all should think about what's the purpose of our life. I'll give you a very quick example. Let's say, for instance, you have a smartphone there, I have a smartphone here, right? So say, for instance, if we gave these smartphones to different people, and then we ask them, just as we're discussing there, what is the purpose of our life? So we have this life, someone has given it or not, we can all debate on that. But one thing is for sure, we all have our lives. So if we offer this smartphone to different people, and then we bring them back on board and we ask them, what was the purpose of we giving you this smartphone? What did you do with your smartphone? So say, for instance, this one person comes back and he says, you know what, I didn't even switch it on. I was so busy, I never used it. Fine. The second person comes and says, you know what, I figured it out. It's a good way to communicate. So I was listening to the calls and I called a few people. This is what I did with the smartphone. The third person comes and he says, you know what, I would also watch the time on this one, weather, and few internet news stories I would watch on this one. Fine. Then here comes the next person and he says, you know what, I educated myself through this smartphone, and to the point that I am now PhD or a doctorate in a subject. Fine. Here comes another one and he says, I got this smartphone and created a WhatsApp group out of that. And today we are helping hundreds and thousands of people if they need anything. Okay, he took it to the next level. Then here comes another person, he says, you know what, I got this smartphone and I figured out there are 10 things which are missing. And I've invented a new smartphone which is much better than this one, and it will serve billions and billions of people in the coming generations. So the person who didn't use this smartphone, did he do any crime? Are we going to crucify him? No, not at all. So it depends. Every person found out their own purpose of this smartphone. So it wasn't any different, but one thing is for sure, some people, they found out the real purpose of this smartphone and they made the best possible use out of this smartphone. So for our lives as well, just in case we're not able to figure out our entire life, what is the purpose of life, it's fine. It's not a crime. But just in case we're able to figure out what is the purpose of our lives and we are able to use it to its fullest potential, I think it could be great. And the second aspect to it is, we are one of those species. If you look at any other species, I doubt they are able to find out what's their purpose of life. Whether the horse is one of the strongest and the fastest. You have tiger, we have elephant, so many other species. We're not the strongest, we're not the fastest, but certainly we are one of those species, and I think precisely the only one which can have a vision, which can certainly know and evaluate and bring awareness that what is the purpose of our lives. So I think we should all try and do that.
Absolutely. Okay, so I've been on this journey of discovering what is the purpose of my life,
Okay.
and then on a greater note of what is the purpose of us all, humanity, being here on Earth. And then, of course, you see what's happening around the world, and you see, when you tune into the news, you say, what's the purpose of all this? What's the purpose of suffering? What's the purpose of, everything in between? And so just to give you a background on where my ideas are coming from today are, so for the last 20 years, I have gone in a search, and I've gone far and wide, and I've gone internal, I've gone to every degree, and I continue to do so. So I haven't received that final conclusion yet, but what I have discovered so far, I'll share today, is, so a bit of background, I did the Vipassana meditation, which is 10 days of no phone, no reading, no talking to somebody, no watching TV, nothing. You're in complete silence for 10 days, and you're in meditation to teach you to be in the art of right now. Because if you were to speak to somebody, even looking at somebody, so when you're in this meditation place, you're looking down. You're not even, so for the 10 days, you don't even know who's in class with you, and you don't know who's sitting and eating next to you, because you're not supposed to look at somebody even. And what that does is it doesn't allow you to create new thought or to go in the past or present. To the past or the future in positive or negative thought. It allows you to be in the present right now, to acknowledge the fact that you're alive and so many other things. And I would say if you have 10 days, definitely go do it. It's life-changing. I spent 3 weeks in India. My destination was Chennai. I cannot tell you where the bus took me, but with a group of people, and I meditated with monks in the woods, where the place I was in was for about, they said about 150 years, monks lived in that area, and the energies are at a very high level. So I was there doing that for 3 weeks. Then what I did shamanic studies as well, and healing, and with shamans. And with shamans, did so many different types of meditation and some of their customs and rituals, and that dates back 1,000 years. I've been to meditation retreats. I spend weekends working with different teachers on different types of meditation, chakra meditation. Then that's my Eastern sort of philosophy that it came from, of course, on the shamanic side. That goes back thousands of years as well. And then there's the mainstream. I've been to so many different speakers, spent 6 days with Destiny, with Tony Robbins and other speakers. I've done therapy. So I've really reached out. Then I've done the internal work in terms of whether it's my meditation, I've done hypnosis, I've done past life regression, from Dolores Cannon's teachings, with my own hypnosis. So I've literally gone in so many directions, searching the meaning for what am I doing here? What are we all doing here? What is happening? Even mainstream therapy I've done, group sessions I've done. So, and this is just the things I remember. I do so many things that my family's now used to it, that every time I show up and say, oh, I'm going to do this. And then I've also learned to incorporate some of those things that I've learned into my day-to-day. And I have to say that, and then I've studied religion as well. I started studying religion all the way back since grade 9, and different religions, and delving into things. and we're talking about various different religions, and the common thing that I have now, I could say, is the theme line is this. Whether it's any religion, whether it's any spiritual thinking or philosophers that I've also followed, your soul is going to continue beyond this shell, which is my body. Whether so you want to call it a meat bag, or you want to call it a shell, you want to call it a body. Right now, as we're sitting here, my soul is going to continue. In some religions will say your soul may go to heaven or hell. Other religions will say that your soul will come back here to learn new lessons and to overcome, to deal with the karma that it creates. In any of those, the soul has a life or another phase after us here right now. So as we know people who pass away, we know that the fact that we're born, that there's going to be a day where we're not going to be here, and we're going to, there's going to be a funeral. But I know that there's a journey of my soul beyond this point, beyond this body. Ramona is my name. This is my life experience. It's going to be beyond that. So that's one thing for sure. Now, going into why did my soul come here to begin with is the question. And inhabit this body, the family that I have, where I was born, and my journey is because, and now I believe in reincarnation. And it wasn't something because somebody told me to believe in it. It's because I started delving into so many of these different things, and in my understanding, that was the closest thing that came to my understanding to be comfortable with, for me to understand what all of this. And that is that my soul came here on earth, and I believe that there's different realms. I don't believe that this is just earth. There's different realms, there's different, it's not just, we're not here alone on earth doing our thing. So the fact that it's decided to come on earth is because I have certain lessons that I decided that I'm going to learn. And those lessons have been now with other souls that we decided I'm gonna meet you at this intersection, and we're going to, we're gonna be friends, or we're gonna work together, or we're gonna, whatever the case is, we decide on what that is. My soul decided to come back here, and my soul had meetings with other souls where we said, okay, we're gonna go through these lessons together. Perhaps it's souls that I've been with in previous lives, which now I have another chance to come back and correct some of the wrongs. Perhaps, I did whatever the case is, and now I have another chance to be able to do it the right way if I didn't get a chance to do it in a previous life. So chances are that some of the people in your life, you've had previous lives with them, which is why they're showing up right now. And you get to do it all over again. But now you don't want to keep repeating the same lesson over and over again, just like how you don't want to be in grade 1 over and over again, because one thing about my understanding of life is that you don't get to skip lessons. You have to pass that lesson to go on to the other lessons. So it's not, oh, I don't like this lesson, so let me skip it. There's no fast lane, there's no exemptions, there's no, just like in school that you can get an exemption to something because of life challenges. No, there's none of that. It's, here's the lesson, you have agreed to it, you agreed. So one thing is that I'm fully responsible for all my experiences. That's something I understood. Everything I'm experiencing, I'm fully responsible for it because I chose it on a soul level. Maybe there's a veil of forgetfulness where when I'm born, then of course I don't remember those lessons and this life purpose that I decided to come into. But of course, then if I accept the fact that I've reincarnated and my parents, these are people that I make contracts with, that you're going to be my parents, you're going to be my sibling, and the people, and here's what I learned, the people that give you the hardest challenges in life, on a soul level, they're actually your best friend because they help you grow the most. So on a soul level, you've decided that you need to overcome, because you want to ascend. You don't want to, your soul has to ascend in terms of the lessons to be able to get to a higher level. That's what I mean by ascension. And so the people that give you the hardest time, the biggest challenges in life that you have a conflict with, you actually learn the most from them. Anybody successful, and whatever your definition of success is, you know that you've had to fail and you've had to overcome hardships, and that's when you learn things. In good times, what do you learn? You're just happy in good times. What do you actually learn? Yes, you learn what makes me happy in those good times, but how much do you know what happiness is unless you actually feel sadness? How much do you appreciate love until you experience loss of love? You understand appreciation for things, or how much do you appreciate every second with somebody or with something unless you've lost it, or you've been it's been gone, or that time has lapsed. And so appreciation for things enhance when you can see the other side, in terms of when you can see the degrees in life. So that's the other thing. So you're always going to be thankful for everything you have. And what the amazing thing is that you know you can change your circumstances, because the only thing we've been given is to have the ability to have our own decisions. Like, you can make a decision. You're not here without choice. Like, the one thing you have is choice. Yes, you don't decide when you're born. You don't decide when you're going to die. But in that time period, you have been given choice in terms of what you choose to do. In any situation, whether there's a hardship, whether it's anything, you have that choice in that moment. How am I going to respond to this? So it's not so much what's happening to you. It's what is my choice and how I'm going to see this, my perception of this, the meaning I give this, and how do I change my state? If it's a low state, whether it's, and we talk about this Hertz model of having, are you feeling shame, you're vibrating at 20 Hertz. And I've done so many shows on this. There's anger, there's fear, and all of that, you're vibrating low. You want to raise that, because what you're feeling is what you're going to attract into your life. So I know that in any given circumstance, I have the choice of how I'm going to respond to this, what this means to me, and how I'm going to overcome it. Now, the greatest thing is that to understand that one of the biggest things that stop us from actually living our life is fear. So if you're here to learn your lessons and to overcome those lessons so your soul can ascend, and mindful of how you're treating other souls in your life, and understand that the hardest relationships are probably one of the best things for you, because it makes you catch up. It makes you catch up in your humanity. It makes you catch up in so many different things. You're understanding, to be able to even go through all these different things I've done. And I did all of these things because I had certain challenges that rose in my life. So I had to go find some answers, because I wasn't going to sit with the challenge and not have the coping skills or the knowledge. So I went and got the knowledge. If those challenges did not occur in my life, I would have probably maybe not gone at an accelerated pace to the level of commitment. I mean, how hard is it to go sit for 10 days and not say a word, not look at somebody, not talk to somebody, not read anything, not write, and just literally don't even make eye contact? That's a hard thing to do. But my level of commitment came from the challenges that I wanted to overcome. I'm like, okay, well, I don't have the answer, but I'm going to go find the answer. So I said, okay, let me try this. Let me try that. Let me try. And then I started finding a common theme in all of these different things. So fear is, you got to overcome it. So am I afraid of half of the things I do? Yes. Why do I do it? Because I'm going to overcome it. Just like I said in the past, like the first time you get behind the steering wheel of a car, you're afraid, because you're going to be on a road. There's so many moving parts. And if you haven't trained your eye to look at the side, and the rear view mirror and everything else you need to do, then it's going to be difficult. But the more you drive, the more comfortable you become. So anything in life, if there's fear, the fear is there because you've given a meaning. Whatever you're afraid of is because you have given it a meaning that is now talking back at you. You can change the meaning so you can overcome the fear. There's so many other things you could do. So there's that. I want to talk about timelines. Your soul had decided that it's going to live certain lives. Now, and this is from other spiritual teachers that I've learned this from, because I'll go to their classes, I'll go to their seminars, I'll follow them, and I have so many. And I'm giving you a summary version of everybody I've just, you know, listened to, and I've actually, and so it's not, I heard it, I accepted. I've read and I've done all these different things, but I've internalized it, what's right for me and what I'm hearing consistently and what I know to be true for myself. So you may agree or you may disagree, and that's your opinion, of course. So your soul has different timelines, right? On an average, it's okay with certain timelines. So and we've all experienced this. We've always realized that we were down a path with whether it's a career, whether it's a family, whether it's a place to live, and then all of a sudden something will happen and it'll take you completely somewhere completely different than that was not planned. That's another timeline. That's what I mean by timelines. But then there's always the timeline that is your highest self-expression. And that you will know. And how do you know this? How will you know that you're living the fullest self-expression that you can, that is on a soul level, right? On a soul level, it's very interesting because you say this, you say, do what makes you happy. But you know the difference between, okay, I'm happy, to when you're in the flow. And we talked about flow. You called it zone zero. When you're in the flow of something where everything that you know, everything that you've experienced, and this is what Gary Zukav says, it's when your personality comes to serve your soul. So my personality is, I can read things, I can analyze things, and I can articulate it. That's my personality, that's not my soul. And then sometimes maybe I could be funny about it, or maybe sometimes, you know, I can make an anecdote, maybe I can somehow explain it in a way that could be consumable. That's my personality, that's not my soul. But if I can now use my personality, or I can connect with people, I can network, there's a few things I could do well. If I now use my personality to serve my soul, I don't know how old my soul is. And when I say old, I'm obviously talking in human terms. When we say 12 months a year, 30 days or 31 days a month, 24 hours, those are things we created, us humans, right? And of course, based on certain things, when the sun comes and goes. But I'm not talking about that. But I have to use those terms because we're humans and we're speaking a language and we have to have a benchmark. So I don't know how old my soul is, but I do know it's not 40 years old, which is what I am today. My body is 40 years old, but my soul is further greater than that. So how can I use my personality to serve my soul, which is greater and has its own plans? Now my soul will because it has those commitments in terms of with other souls of when I'm gonna, you know, meet that person as a friend, as an acquaintance, as a colleague, as a loved one, you know, many of those souls that come into your life, what it is at the end of the day is I will know when everything is in flow. And then you start knowing. Now, there's times where your soul will present itself and the greater things you could do that on a conscious level you don't think you could do. But then the opportunity will keep rising, will keep coming up. And the more you resist that greater potential that you have, the more the things you want to go after that are easier to do for you and okay and less resistance, those things start falling apart. For one incident, it could be less enjoyable after a certain time, or it could just be taken away because you're just not supposed to do it anymore. So there will come a time where it will redirect you if you do not do it yourself. And that is just because you're here for a purpose. And you could, of course, you have choice. You always have a choice. But how good do your choices feel now? Okay, well, I've been choosing to do this for 10 years. Why is it all of a sudden not feel the right choice? So those things will come up. So pay attention to these things because your soul is always talking to you. It's always directing you. And the people in your life, they're not there by mistake. And then there's the other thing. Let's just say you come across another soul and the conflict is so great, but you feel like you've served the purpose. They've come into your life. Let's say they're the ones that give you the hardest time, which helps you grow the most. But when they've served their purpose, they could go. Sometimes we like to hold on to things. And when you hold on to things, things can become even more difficult because now you've learned your lesson, move on to the next. Don't try to stay in grade 1 when you've graduated grade 1. You got to go to grade 2, right? If we want to talk about it on a school level, because that's what it all feels like. Now, if you don't do that, then it's going to get more difficult, right? Because if you're now operating intellectually on a soul level, energetically at a grade 2, and then you stay back in grade 1 because you just know it, and you're afraid of what, because fear is the biggest killer of all. So you're afraid of what that is, then you're going to be less fulfilled on a day-to-day basis because you already know it, right? We need to all grow internally. But when it comes to another soul, you can actually then cancel those contracts. Cancel it meaning like you do not want it to go further than what it is. There's certain things you could say and say, I let you go free and I go free. That's how you also remove some of the karma, because the longer you keep something going on beyond its expiry time, it creates karma. The other thing that I've learned from all of these teachers and through all of this, work is you're supposed to go back to zone 0. And I don't mean flow. State of flow is right now I'm in flow. These things I'm rhyming off, I'm talking about 20 years of grabbing things and I'm able to put it in a few minutes because I'm in a state of flow. So my mind is working at a level for me to pull all these things together and deliver it. When you say zone 0, is you got to go back to 0, meaning Ramona has to work at letting go all of her preconceptions, her conditioning, because that is the combination of her being a female born into this family, in this year, in this country, moving to here, my work experiences, the people I've come across, those I make up. Then I have conditions, I have ideas, what society has taught me. I have to work on a daily basis, if not by minute basis, of letting those preconceptions go. Now you might say, well, if you let preconceptions go, how do you make decisions? I got to get to a point of 0 because that is what is going to create my more karma. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the more I let it go, the freer I become. I just got to let it go. And then you're saying, well, how do you make a decision? How do you make a decision? You got to stay silent with something. And I know I'm saying so many different things at once, and I promise you they're all connected. And if you just take like a little bit of it away and apply it, it might make a little bit of a difference, and I hope it does. And that's the purpose of, that's my intention for today. But if I let go of all my preconceptions and I'm trying to clear out my conscious, and there's a way of reprogramming your subconscious. You could put something on, and when you go into a deep state of sleep, that is when you can program your subconscious. You could do mantras, you could do incantations, repetition. There's so many things you could do to reprogram. Just understand your brain is like a computer, and the software is your programming. You can update your program. You do not need to live in the 1995 program, right? You imagine if your computer, I don't think computers can even function in a software from 1995 right now. But that's how you have to look at your mind. I know my brain is very limited. You could be well-read, you could be intelligent, but it's very limited in what the greater connection of all this is. I know my heart is the indicator. So if I go into fear disconnects me from my heart. So I know fear is to my detriment, so I gotta work through that and I gotta overcome it. And you can overcome fear like that. I'm talking about fear, I'm not talking about like phobias. Phobias, you gotta go to special people for that. And I'm not talking about severe mental health fears. Those are certain things that you have to go to professionals for that. I'm talking about the fear that you've created, your parents have passed on to you, your spouse has passed on to you, they're afraid of something, so now you're afraid of it. I'm talking about that fear that prevents you from doing stuff. When you're feeling fear, you're disconnected from the heart. If your heart is the indicator of where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do in any given situation, not your brain, please not your brain, because your brain is only going to feed back to you what it's seen and what it's heard and what it's read, and that could be very limited. Of course it's limited. If I have a 40-year-old brain, no matter how much I read, I'm not going to know the purpose of life. I'm not going to know what we're all here to do. I'm not going to know. My brain doesn't know that. There isn't a book that's giving me that and who I am and my DNA, any of those things. I just know my brain is good for what I need to do with my day-to-day functions. It's fight or flight, that keeps me safe. But then if I go too much into fear, I know I can use my brain to overcome some of these challenges in terms of, I know how to, do my incantations, do this, do that. Okay, it's time to meditate. That's what I use my brain for. I don't use my brain to make life decisions because I know it's very limited in that capacity. It's my heart. And so this is, I hope it helped. And as you speak, I'll bring some more stuff, but I condensed a lot of stuff I've learned over a very long period of time, 2 decades, into just this small bit.
Thank you. It was great. It was great. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And I'm sure our viewers are going to enjoy this one. And just as you try to sum up your journey, your story, and as I mentioned earlier as well, what is the purpose of life? We're only sharing our theories, our journeys of life. This may or may not apply to you. And now I think, as we discussed earlier, what's your purpose of life? I'm sure all our viewers must be thinking, what is their purpose of life? Let me put it this way. When I was a kid, what was my purpose of life? When I was a kid, my purpose of life is go out and play as much as you can. So all I loved was playing. So just in case I had to bracket that, what was my purpose of life when I was a kid in my school days? So playing and enjoying ice cream, sweets. We all love food. So I was a foodie, and we all love food. So my purpose of life was playing as much as you can and enjoying good food, especially sweets. So can I term the purpose of life is to come on this earth and play and enjoy the sweets? Probably not. But I didn't realize it that time when I was a kid. So that is one thing which I was doing. So I'll say in the whole bigger schemes, I'll say, okay, I was in if I had to certificate myself that Yudhvir, were you able to really fulfill your purpose of life? I will rate it at grade 10 level. That was my grade 10 level when I was saying enjoy, play, and have sweets, ice creams, and do that. That was a grade 10 level purpose. Now move further. I thought, no, I got to do something in life. What do I do? Become an engineer, do something big. I started thinking on those lines that yes, I have to do something. So now my purpose of life became become an engineer, do something good in life. So, so I would rate at grade 12. Here I graduated to grade 12 now. That from playing to having sweets most of the time, my purpose of life became I have to get a professional degree, which is engineering at that time, and do something good in life. So I think most of our viewers could relate with that. When we are kids, we have our own things which we are doing. We don't even ask ourselves. Actually, I didn't ask. Maybe you might have asked yourself at age 7 or 10. I never asked at age 7, 10, 12, what is my purpose of life? So that was my purpose of life. And in my late teens or early 20s, it graduated to a level when I started asking, what do I have to do? What's my objective in life? What do I have to achieve in life? And I thought probably that was the purpose of life at that time. So I did my engineering, did few ventures in business, and I'm sure we all do our own stuff, good career, a nice life partner, what will be our financial goals, what will be our career goals, what will be our life goals. So we consider all these things. So, but I still rated it. It's for me, I'm rating for me, not for you, but I'll rating for me, yes, grade 12. That's a grade 12 level objective of life or purpose of life. And we all go through that. After having, achieved this purpose of life, then I started asking myself, what makes me happy? What makes me happy? So when I started asking myself what makes me happy, that again gave me another purpose of life. Another purpose of life that once one of the reasons that I see that many people, suffer with anxiety or depression or any other things is that yes, they make their objective or small term goals and they start believing that this is the purpose of life. Sometimes if you would ask, okay, what's the purpose of life? They may not even think, but they think that, okay, this is my financial goal, this is my career goal, I want to have this sort of life partner, and then this could be my purpose of my life. They may not think, or they may think, but they could assume that this is their purpose of life. But now you've achieved your financial goal, you've got a nice life partner, good house, good car, good almost everything, good career goals, you've accomplished that. But now what? Was this the purpose of life? Maybe, maybe not. But this is all grade 12 level. Now let's go to the next level, the graduation level. The graduation level is when I say that which I started finding in myself, what gives me happiness is the business that I'm running or the career goals, the financial goals, the personal goals. Does this give me happiness in life? Is this the purpose of life? But at that point, I started realizing when you're making anything easier for others. So I started realizing, oh wow, I think this is the purpose of my life. And yes, I am blessed that I could do that. I can do that and I can make sure that I'm doing certain things in my life which will make the life of others easier. At this point, I'll ask you a question to all our viewers. If you're a little bit confused what is your purpose of life, put it the other way around. Evaluate what you're doing with your time and you would know what you've achieved. What is your purpose of life? If at all I was only playing and sleeping and having sweets as a kid, okay, I was doing it all for my pleasure and entertainment and enjoyment. So basically my purpose of life was my own pleasure, entertainment and enjoyment in life. If I made a different purpose of life for my career, my financial goals, my life partner or my personal goals, I think that was again limited to my own personal stuff. So whatever it was again only for myself. Now, when you graduate, now I'll come to the graduation level. When you graduate to this level and you start thinking that yes, I need to do something for others as well. And that starts giving you the happiness. When you look at others, you are inspired. When you look at others who are feeling sorrow, you feel that pain. You start feeling that pain and you start doing something for that. Feeling pain is one thing, but you start doing something for that. And at this point, you start asking yourself, in the last 1 month, if you jot down every single hour of your life in the last 1 month, 30 days, how much time have we spent for others? Maybe I'm saying, okay, my self-help or self-love. Okay, this is all for me. My career has to be good. My business has to be good. I have to get a nice life partner. I have to go to gym. I don't go to gym, but I'm saying that. I got to go to gym every day. But all these hours that I spent in the last 30 days, it was all for me. That is precisely what other species do. Exactly, this is what the other species do. And actually they do till a better extent. Have you ever seen a horse which is fat? No. After you feed a horse till a certain extent, the horse will know, okay, thank you. You cannot feed the horse any further. But we as human beings, maybe will eat a little bit more and we get fat and then we go to gym. So whatever we're doing in the last 30 days, if you evaluate every single hour, if that any single hour was not contributed to anybody else or for better, we all talk about world peace. We all talk about humanity. I'm going to serve humanity. I'm going to talk world peace. Good. But what are you doing for that? In the last 30 days, okay, I slept for 8 hours. Good for you. Nice sleep. I did gym for 2 hours. Good. Good for you. I went to jogging for this many time. Good. Good for you. Or I went to work for my business, for my job, or whatever reason. I took the kids to a hockey game. Good. Your kids to the hockey game. Anybody else? No. Any charity? No. So last 30 days, I spent all this. So your purpose of life, define what it is. It's for me, but am I better off than any other species? Maybe they're even better off than me. Because yes, they do not have that intellect, they do not have that vision, they do not have this intellect to identify what's their purpose of life, but we do. Now I think when we start thinking, this is a graduation level thing, when we start thinking how I'm making life easier for others. So when I started doing this on my own, this is a thing which really gave me the happiness. This is a thing which really gave me the satisfaction. And I've, concluded that it may not be the final conclusion. You used a very nice word earlier, final conclusion. This may not be the final conclusion as I'm involving. But yes, I found myself at a graduation level. That yes, when I'm helping others and when I see this could be the sole purpose of, I thought so, this could be the sole purpose of anyone's life to help others to make life easier for anybody. And that starts with anybody who's your immediate vicinity. What do I mean with that? Start with your family. We talk about world peace. How peaceful is your life at home? We talk about loving everyone. Are you loving your family members, your parents, your wife, your colleagues, are you really taking good care of them? Do you really love them? Do you really feel for them? Are you encouraging them? Are you inspiring them? Are you doing anything to make life easier for your neighbors, for your colleagues, for anybody who meets you? So I think, yeah, so this is where I started thinking, this is the purpose of life, Yadvir. This is what makes me happy. This is what I need to do. I'll talk about the master's level. What happens at this is the graduation level. Now the next level, master's level. Then I started teaching myself that I do not need to discriminate with anybody. Discrimination doesn't necessarily mean that we are not discriminating on the basis of caste, religion, color, or sexual orientation. Discrimination, for me, when I'm talking about purpose of my life, I started teaching myself. Even if I meet a terrorist, my loving nature should not discriminate him. He's done a terrorist act. This is sometimes I talk on the radio and many people start differing with me on this one. Yes, there was an act that he did, that he committed. But he is not a terrorist. We label him as a terrorist. No. He's a normal human being like you and me. He had different circumstances and we do not know the whole life story. So I cannot be judgmental that he's a terrorist. So I cannot discriminate my feeling for anybody, my love for anybody, or the thought that my purpose of life is to help everyone includes everyone. I cannot discriminate on any basis. So what happens with the masters? 3 or 4 things when your purpose of life is at the master's level, not at the graduation level. It's at the master's. When you say, okay, master's or honors, master's in any field, master's in journalism. So when you are master's level, then you do not discriminate with anybody. And then there's another aspect to it. You will feel many people will say, I want to spend 2 minutes with you. I want to spend 5 minutes with you. Even at the phone, these masters, whoever these masters are, they have a very healing effect in their lives. When they talk with anybody, they meet with anybody, they go to anybody's house, they'll have an amazing healing effect. As much as I am striving myself to do something good, but these are masters. They are creators of happiness. They're not finding out what makes you happy. No. They are creators of happiness. They are creators of peace. They're creators of healing. They will innovate. They will inspire. They will encourage. They will motivate millions of people to create all that. That is what the masters do. And one very important distinction that I want to make. We could be at times, you were talking about zone 0. We all have our own challenges, whether it's anger, jealousy, greed, lust, ego, so many other things. But the masters have most likely, mastered the art that they will be zone 0 in most of their time. So they feel that one of the purpose of their lives is that the purpose of life is to be in zone 0 and they have mastered that art. You will not find them anywhere away from zone 0 most of the time. Maybe 99.9% of the time they've mastered that art. For you, for our viewers, I don't know, I don't want to say anything, but for me, and I feel that yes, we're not in zone 0 most of our time. We strive to do that, but the masters, it becomes very much organic to them. That is where the masters are. And finally, then there is a PhD level that you were talking about. You were talking about soul level. That is the people who are at the PhD level, who feel at a soul level they're connected with God, or they're very much closer to what the things are laid out at a spiritual level. So that is what the PhD level is all about. So for all our viewers, we talk about PhD level. I want to attain nirvana. I want to meet God. मुझे मोक्ष प्राप्त करना है. This is what I want to do in life. Fine. It's just like this. Yudhvir Jaswal says, I want to be the strongest and the fittest person on this earth. Fine. I want to attain peace. I want to attain nirvana. I want to meet God. I want to become God. Okay, fine. These are all big goals. I want to be the fittest and the strongest person. This is a very subjective thing. But I need to be very objective on what I am doing to become the fittest person on this earth and evaluate where do I stand right now. Where am I with my purpose of life right now? So if I want to become the fittest and the strongest person on this earth, I need to evaluate my weight and then consistently think how much pounds would I shed off in the coming weeks? how much muscle mass do I need to gain? How many hours need to spend? Now we're talking. Now this is objectively, I will keep on doing that. So I need to evaluate with my purpose of life, where am I? And recently someone asked me, Yudhvirji, do you think, what's the purpose of our life? Do you think our purpose is to attain peace or attain nirvana or moksha so that we do not get ourselves reincarnate? I said, that's a PhD level thing. I don't think so I'm there as yet. But I can talk. But what my experience says, what is in my hand? I can feel the emotions of hundreds and millions of people. They're all there. What am I doing? How much time or efforts I am spending to make sure that yes, I can make their lives easier? Am I doing anything for them? If I'm doing anything for them, then I think my purpose of life is being served. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I want to tell you that I'm going to go back to all the people I've followed and learned from and what I've understood myself to a degree, is that the purpose of life is to actually be playful. So just like how you were doing that at a young age, and we were all hopefully at some point, it's not about I'm older and I got to be more serious and I got to take my life seriously and I got to be a serious person and this is what serious people do. So it's about, you got to enjoy. And enjoy means and you can't enjoy unless you have that playful nature within anything that you're doing. And whether it's how you're with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones, with your children, at work, you got to be able to incorporate that and be happy doing it and find that happiness within any moment. So that's number one. So yes, you should still be at playful, because what that's going to do is that's going to resonate you on your vibrational level. It's going to bring in more of that. And that is when you can also get on the journey of where your soul wants to go. Your soul did not make a choice to come here and be miserable. Understand that that is not what your soul's journey is, to come here and be miserable and life is supposed to be hard. No, life is not supposed to be hard. It will have hard times when you match the skill set, the coping skills and the understanding and the lesson, then you will overcome those hard times. That is why it's appearing. But try to learn it quicker so you don't prolong the hard times. So that's stuff, but you gotta have that play. And of course, can you feel sadness if you put a smile on your face? Because here's the thing, feelings follow action. So you want to get fit, you don't want to go to the gym, you don't feel like it. But as soon as you go in and you start doing that cardio, or you go into that fitness class, or you get on that bike, or you lift that weight, all of a sudden your feelings catch up to the action. So understand that you just need to act. Your feelings will always come, because feelings can be fleeting. So if you want to be able to manage it, understand that that's what you need to do. The other thing is, any religion or people who are spiritual, the understanding is that we all come from the Creator. Creator created us all, whether you call that source, whether you call that the universe, whether you call that God, whatever it is you call it, there's a level of understanding we all come from the same place. And if we all come from the same place, if the Creator created us and in the Creator's image and the ability and all of that, then you need to understand that then we're all connected, because we all come from the same place. So if I'm connected to you, then I have to understand that, however, and that goes to what you're saying, is that what are you going to do for other people? How are you going to uplift other people? Because you get happy when you are uplifting someone else, because you're connected. We're connected on a soul level. So understand that. The other thing is that I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story of Dr. Hewlin. God rest his soul. He died earlier this year. But Dr. Hewlin is a psychologist. And the Hawaiian State Hospital had a ward for the criminally insane. So these are people who are murderers, who are rapists, drug trafficking, all sorts of crimes, but their mental stability and mental state does not allow them to serve their time in prison in an incarcerated facility. So they're at this hospital to seek treatment. And in this hospital, a lot of them are restrained. And because they're dangerous, they're deemed to be dangerous. And these are people who've been charged, convicted, and this is where they belong. And this this criminally, what they called criminally insane ward, that's the term that they used, couldn't keep staff, couldn't keep a staff psychologist, couldn't see, because it was very difficult to deal with these people that were there. And then Dr. Hewlin comes, and the hospital is like, okay, you want to start working here? He says, okay, I will. He goes, because my education will qualify for what the state requirements are for you to have a staff psychologist, but my technique's very different than what you guys are used to. They were desperate. They said, sure, we need to meet the requirement because we need to operate this facility. So Dr. Hewlin, what he did was, as he's going through the charts of the patients, you could say, and not even having contact with them, but going through it, he did a prayer, and it's called the Ohoponopo. Ohoponopo. And it's a very simple prayer, and I'll tell you what the prayer is, but the results of this prayer is phenomenal. And I want to share this with you because you could use this. I use it all the time. And I know when to use it too. And it's good to just use it not even when you don't have to use it. But so he starts going through the chart doing this prayer over and over again. He's not saying it out loud. He's saying it internally. He's not saying it to the patients. He's speaking to God, his creator. He's saying this prayer over and over again. Within months, these patients got better. We're talking about the worst of the worst that cannot even be in prison. They got better. The staff that didn't want to be there started coming back and being happy at work. In 4 years, that ward closed down because everybody got healed and they went back into society because they served their time and they were fully functioning members of society. It's very significant because I actually, my education is in criminology. I worked for Corrections Canada. I also oversaw files of our federally incarcerated people, and I've been to federal prisons, institutions like Kingston Penn. I've been to some of those, and so I have to tell you that there's a whole thing that goes on there in terms of going to the assessment intake, which prison they go to because they've now been found guilty, and their sentencing is 2 years plus, which is federal level. And then based on where they are, they go through programming. If they're at a certain education level, then they can go to work. There's a lot of these things. And then when they come out into the community, then they go through, how they're going to be job placed and the parole officer. So it's a whole technique. But here in 4 years, the ward closes down for what is determined. This is the Hawaiian State Hospital for what was the criminally insane ward, is what they called it. So what is this? What is this prayer? The prayer is very simple, and we use it in different parts of our life, but we don't use it in this order. The prayer is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Saying it over and over again. What does it mean? So because we're all connected, we come from the same source, we're all connected, then understand that everything in your reality is something that is within you. So it's mirroring you. So if somebody, if I get upset about something, that's a mirror to me that I need to work out. That's called triggering. We talked about triggering many times. You get triggered by things. The person isn't the issue. It's what it means to you, the definition you've given that action, that saying, or whatever the case is. And it's triggering because there's something unresolved within you that you gotta work out. So that's a mirror, that's the mirror. And that's why these are the best teachers in your life. And so he says, I'm sorry, Dr. Hewlin says, I'm sorry, in the Ho'oponopo, it's a Hawaiian prayer, because he believes, or he understands, not believes, he understands that somewhere in my lineage, in my ancestors, in everything that is all being, that it caused the situation that I'm seeing. Because I'm seeing that situation, it's within me. So anything you see, it's actually within you. That's why your experiences are completely different than my experiences. Or when we could go to the same event, we can go to the same party, but you'll walk away with a different experience and different recollection of the events, and I will too, because it's my meanings that I give to it. But whatever I see is within me. So he says, I'm sorry for that. If I'm getting triggered by reading these files of these criminals and I'm getting upset, I'm getting angry, I'm getting fear, then these are things I have to say I'm sorry for. Because there's some part of it I contributed to it. Not physically in his age, in his lifespan as Dr. Hugh, he's talking about on a soul level. So he says, I'm sorry. And it says, forgive me, right? Forgive me for how I may have contributed to this, whether it's my soul tribe, whether it's my ancestors, whether it's anything consciously, subconsciously, intention, whatever, karma, forgive me, forgive me. And then the next one is thank you, because you're saying it to God. God's great. Of course you're going to be forgiven. Of course you'll be forgiven if you show, complete the fact that you won, you're sorry. If you show that, and then there's gratitude for it. Of course you're going to be forgiven. So you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Then you say thank you, because it's received. Everything is within its own. The fact that you acknowledge it, you're going to be forgiven. Never ever are you not going to be forgiven. That's how you, every moment that you're alive, you have another opportunity to seek that forgiveness. That's just the fact of it. That's what is beautiful about life. The odds of us sitting here, in terms of, what is it? They say when it comes to a sperm fertilizing an egg, 250 million odds.
One in a million.
Yeah, and so the fact that we're here is miraculous. The fact that you were in your mother's womb, where you didn't have to consciously think about growing a heart, legs, body. You don't have to think about blinking. You don't have to think about breathing. It's a miracle on its own. The fact that you're alive, you have every moment to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank for it, because now you've received it. Then you wrap it up with an I love you, because it is within the love. That's why everything comes from the heart. You got to feel it here. Anything that you're doing, if it's your job, if it's spending time with somebody, anything you're saying, you got to feel it here. If you don't feel it here, it's not it. It's not it. Don't force it. Don't use this to bypass this and enforce it because you're a serious person. Don't do it. It's always going to lead to nothing good. So then you encompass all that. So it's, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you say it over and over again. So anytime I use it, and it's great to use it overall. It's just, if you want your day to go smooth and you want obstacles to be cleared, say it all day long, and just it becomes a mantra. You'd say it and it clears the path for everything. And the moments I know I really need to use it is when I get triggered. Because here's the thing, if you feel angry, if you feel sad, if you feel fear, if you feel shame, if you feel guilt, you cannot feel it when you say the sentences of I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. When you say that, you immediately, that's the choice. When I talked earlier about you have choice. You don't have a choice of when you're born or when you die, but you have a choice in everything you respond to in your life. Anything that happens to you, good or bad, you have a choice in that moment. How do I respond to this? Do I not even respond? How do I feel about this? How do I change my perception of what I'm receiving, good or bad, whatever it is? Or even if the happiest thing's happening and you're flatlining in terms of emotionally, you still have a choice. You have a choice to put a smile on your face. You have a choice to do anything it is. So when you start saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, you will not feel anger. You cannot feel anger at that same moment as saying those words and meaning it. You will not feel shame because now you've said, thank you. Shame comes when you don't feel like you've been forgiven. And then as soon as you say thank you for the forgiveness, it takes it away. So you have a choice in all those things. And I just want to tell you about Dr. Hewlin and the story. And, it's great.
Thank you so much. I think it's amazing. We're very nicely done. And I must say, I'm also going to try and follow this mantra more and more, as much as there are other things. But you put it very nicely when you said this. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
That's it.
Yeah, because when you're saying I'm sorry, you're acknowledging. From my perspective, I could be wrong. You can correct me. This could actually serve you towards the purpose of your life, because that's the topic that we're talking. When I say I'm sorry, I'm acknowledging that yes, whatever is happening around, it could be my fault, and I'm acknowledging and please forgive me. When I say forgive me, and this is what Buddhaji says, uh, the person who deserves the loving love of your love the most, and also the forgiveness the most is you. So we forgive ourselves, we forgive our others, we do not judge anyone. The next one that you say, which is very, very important, you take the gratitude out of someone's life. I doubt he or she could stay happier. Thank you, which we say in Punjabi, hamesha shukar de vich rehna hai. Yes, that's the purpose of our life. Thank you, we should always say that. And the last point that you just mentioned, I love you. Amazing thing, because this is where you graduate from graduation to masters, and what a perfect story that you just shared, because the doctor was able to practice all this. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. When you say I love you, you cannot discriminate. There could be the heart criminals, they could have done anything in their lives, but this doctor, he's forgiving them, he's loving them, he's actually thanking them, and most likely he's also thanking this opportunity that he got to serve them. Precisely that was the reason that this doctor could achieve that. So our purpose of life, I think very nicely, this is a great mantra. As much as it cannot be for ourselves, what did this doctor do? He didn't do anything for himself. He did it for others. So if you calculate his hours, most of his time in his life, you didn't highlight him because he was the finest bodybuilder. You didn't highlight him because he was fine as the actors or one of the greatest journalists that there or a scientist. No, you highlighted him today. Why? Because he served others. So I think when we're looking, I think I'll conclude at this one. This is what I have concluded, and it's not the final conclusion. If I were to evaluate what is the purpose of my life, as much as you're right, I still go out and play and I still enjoy my sweets, I'm not going to let that go, because that puts me in a meditative state. I'm in complete meditation when I'm at the court. Yesterday, and that brings happiness. It's a very interesting thing. Yesterday I played 8 games, 3 against my coach, and won all. And I was telling everyone, I played 8 games, I won all 8 of them. I played for almost good 1.5 hour, and my body is still in pains because yesterday I played that much. But it gives me a lot of happiness. You have to, and that was my meditative state. My phone is away, everything is away. All I'm focused on the code, playing and winning. So it gets you into that meditative state. You're almost in meditation at that time for those 3-4 hours, and even after playing that game. So I'm not going to leave that. But that is for me. That cannot be the objective of my life, playing or enjoying sweets. Objective of life, first of all, it cannot be for yourself. This is what it's not my final conclusion, but this is one thing. Second, yes, self-love is very important. You talk about self-love. It is very important, because if I don't really take care of myself, how can I achieve bigger purpose of life? My purpose of life is to support others. I'm not able to support myself. How can I support others? So when you talk, you're right. Self-love is important. You got to take care of yourself. Then only you can support others. I don't love myself, but okay, I love the entire universe. You're loving the entire universe. You don't even love yourself. I doubt you could do that. So first things first, once again, it cannot be about me when we're talking about the purpose of life, number one. Second, I think it has to be one of the things that I feel right now, and I'm not saying this is imperfection. Anything that you're looking as a hobby, you could try and cut out 1,000 years of work for yourself. Sometimes what happens, we run out of ideas in life, we run out of things to do in life, we achieve everything so early. Many people, they have midlife crisis. Okay, at 20 you became a millionaire, at 25 you became a billionaire, at 35 midlife crisis, you could have depression and so many other things, and by 38, 40 some people say, okay, I wish I could take away my life. Why? Because you didn't have 1,000 years planned ahead. For recreation, I have 1,000 years planned right now as we speak. Similarly, for the purpose of life, there's a purpose of life. Do not make a purpose of life that, yes, okay, I'll be a millionaire or a billionaire. You could become a billionaire, then what? That is the day you start feeling anxious. That is the day you could go into depression. Oh, now what? I become a billionaire, private jet is standing outside, nice wife, a trophy wife, 4 kids, they're doing well. What do I do? Okay, so purpose of life has to be much, much bigger. That's the second point which I have concluded. And finally, I would say, this is my own assessment. I can talk about the PhD stuff, the soul, God, attain nirvana, so many other things, but Yudhvir Jaswal, you're not in PhD right now. You're not even at the master's level right now. You could be at the graduation or grade 12 level right now, and at least you're a human being. You can feel the pain. Say for instance, I go out right now and someone is serving me food at a restaurant. And at the restaurant, if you're able, this person is not going to be a millionaire if you give him $100, $50 or $200, but you can feel that smile, you can connect with that emotion with that person. We're all sitting at our homes, and suddenly in this winter storm, someone is serving us food at our doorstep. Imagine why he's doing that. If you can start connecting. So, okay, this guy knocks bell and he says, "Sir, your food is here." And I'm thinking, I have $500, and I'm thinking, where I'm finding my $2, $5 or $20? No. What difference will it make if you have $500 bills and you just give him $100? What difference will it make? I'm talking about PhD stuff, I'm talking about soul and all these things. If I give him that $100, he'll say, "Sir, I'll get," no, this is for you. So at that particular moment, yes, this you're making life easier for someone, you're bringing smile. You don't even know what he could do with that $100. It's not he's going to build a multi-millionaire mansion, but at least he's happy for that day. At least you've done something. If you can start feeling all these things, just go outside and spend 5 minutes with someone who's in his 70s or 80s. Maybe that person doesn't have anybody to talk to. And you just talk to that person for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So I think these are the purpose of my life. I'm not going to go and spend time, but I want to attain nirvana, I'm in meditation, I'm finding God, and tomorrow, can I find God? I don't know, because I'm not at the PhD level. But these things, these emotions, these energy, I can feel, and I think I can do something about that. And I feel this is my purpose of life.
That's fantastic. I want to about Dr. Hewlin, I want to raise one thing just to make this point, is that he was working on himself. So he was being triggered by reading their charts, and as emotions of anger and, sadness and all those things came, he was saying, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you," to God, but for himself. But here's when I say we're all connected, is that as he was doing it, he was working on himself. It was raising the energetic frequency was vibrating for everybody in that ward, for people to start healing. He wasn't saying it to them. He was saying it as he was being, because he understood, if I see it, then it's within me, so I'm sorry. So if I see these things, I have some responsibility for it. So he was working on himself, and others were getting healed. That's the level of connection. So I wanted to say that.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was mentioning
Yeah.
earlier. These are the people who are at the masters. I don't want to bracket anybody else, but these are the people who are at their masters or PhD level. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
These are the people when you're just surrounded by them. Okay, if you want to really identify people like them, very simple technique. If you are around those people, if you are talking to them, or even if you're not talking to them, their energy level is so high, you will feel healed. It's a healing effect on you. Your energy suddenly would change.
But I'm here to say that we can all do that.
Yes.
If we go through the prayer, and there's simple words that we use it, maybe not in that order at different times of the day, but if we do it, then we can all get to a point where we're clearing that karma, and then all of a sudden other people around us are also overcoming things. And that's what they say. They say, when you're working on yourself, don't feel so guilty, because then you're going to raise the people around you as well, like your family, your colleagues, your friends, and all of that. So that's the main thing there. And then I also wanted to say that I agree with you. It's about how do you, when you're coming in contact with somebody, what are the little things you could do that will make them, acknowledging them, because we all want to be acknowledged. I think at the end of the day, how many times is it that you and I will finish this and we say, "Was that good?" Because we want to make sure that there's a level of acknowledgement. Did you see me? Did you hear me? And that's, I think, an innate need that everybody has. And so it's amazing that you acknowledge other people, like what you're saying, that person who's delivering your food in a winter storm. Why did, they're putting themselves at risk to do it. But I'll give you a story today. So I went to, I have a new car. And so I had to get service done, but it's a new dealership that I went to because the place I got it from is now really far. So I walk in. I had a very early appointment, and the guy who's at the counter, I see he's very attentive. Like he knows, like he's on his job. So you notice when somebody's doing something great. And so he asked me a few questions, and I said, well, I don't know. He goes, okay, well, let's go to your car, and I'll show you. And I saw the way he was dealing with everybody, and I thought, then he called me when things were done, and he was so efficient and so to the point. I saw he takes real pride in his work. So I was thinking, I'm like, how can I appreciate him so he knows he's doing a good job? And after I had dropped it off, I ended up walking home. It wasn't far, thank goodness, but I went and bought some flowers for myself and, for the home. And then I was gonna go, when he called, said, it's ready, I thought, okay, you know what, I gotta take him some flowers. So I had bought these big sunflowers. So I took a sunflower and I thought, but if I give it to him, it's gonna just sit on his desk. So I took a bottle and I filled it with water. And I got there and I waited in line while he's doing his thing. I noticed that he's very educated, and he probably in his home country had a profession that was very technical, but here he is doing administrative work and a customer service frontline position, and he's giving it his best, and he's doing a very good job. And then so I said afterwards, oh, I brought this for you. And then he was like, oh, and I opened up the lid and I put the flower, and I said, you put on, because I looked at his desk and it was full of paper. And he's like, oh, he lit up with a smile, but then he went back to being serious, because I realized he's got a level of training in his upbringing, and but I was like, if I can just acknowledge how he's doing, then that's going to be the difference. So I'm very mindful now as I'm getting service from people. I'm like, what can I acknowledge about them, and maybe go a little bit step further so they know they're doing a good job and they continue doing, because it's people like that we need in society, who are just going to give them their best, regardless of what's going on in their personal life, but they're showing up and they're doing it the best way they can.
Yeah, you made a fantastic point. Just going before we wrap up, going to your earlier two points. Thank you for doing that. This is an amazing thing that you did today, and thank you for sharing this the story today. But going back to your earlier point, with the doctor and your point as well. You can only, when you say you're talking about anger, you're talking about love, and you're talking about other things as well today. You can only start loving others if you look at those lines again. Forgiveness, he's talking about forgiveness. Forgive each one. Forgive yourself, forgive each one, then you can reach the point, because forgiveness in that mantra is coming first. Thanking everyone is coming first. Then only you can really say, I love you, because it's very challenging. And you're right. And this is why we're doing the discussion today. We're not saying only few people can achieve the master's level or the PhD level or watch that doctor achieve. No. Each one of us has, as long as you have a soul. If you believe you have a soul, you can do that. Yeah, if you say I don't have a soul, we all have a soul. We may or may not listen to that. That's a different thing. If you have a soul, we can all be masters and PhD in what you're saying. But very important thing, we should not be discriminating anybody. We cannot say, oh, this is a terrorist, this is a convicted terrorist, or this is a convict, or no. We have to make sure that our love, our appreciation, our gratitude, as you just did, you didn't look what's the background of this person. You just wanted to appreciate this person. You went on, you brought the flowers, and you appreciated that person. You were not looking for any favors back. This is what you did. This shows your love. This shows your gratitude. This shows your forgiveness. This shows your thank you. All the 4 mantras applied there and then. And another very important thing is that, as we were discussing earlier, you're talking about anger. Ego, anger, all these are basically when all these things come out. These are all reflection of certain things. You checked me on one thing. You said there is no word as such as corporate house. Thank you, first of all, for that. And I said, okay, fine. I just immediately deleted it. There was a point. I must acknowledge that there was a point, and I realized there's a nice change in you. So there was a point at our college level that we used to debate. We used to debate about English or so many other things, physics or engineering, and then to the point that even if I would realize that I'm wrong, that's ego. I would say no, I'll stick with it. I came to Canada, and there was a gentleman. He would, he's amazing in his English thing. Then he would correct me, but I felt, why is he correcting me? I should know this myself. But then the other day when you checked me, you corrected me. I said, okay, fine. I said, okay, fine, done, finish. Oh, good. So if you have any sort of ego with you, the difference being you will not acknowledge it, and we cannot improvise. We cannot do that. If you really want to check, if I want to check, okay, I'll put it on me. If I wanted to check, do I have any ego or not? Keep those people very close to you and thank them who are critical about you, who are correcting you. Say thank you to them. And make sure मैं हिंदी बोलो उनके हाथ चूम लो कि थैंक यू कहो कि भाई आपका बड़ा शुक्रिया. वरना हु टेक्स द पेन, वो कहते हैं गलत है, ठीक है भाई कि ऑफेंड ना हो जाए. अगर आपको कोई करेक्ट कर रहा है, कोई क्रिटिसाइज कर रहा है, and I say this on radio many times and I'll say this again, I will never get offended on religious ground. If someone comes here and the person starts in an abusive language for my religion, abusive language, I will not get angry. Not at all. We say blasphemy and all these things, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to kill that person. Why? Because this person, abused my religious God. Or no, we will not do that. No. Forgiveness. What is that mantra? Once again, I love that mantra. The mantra clearly says forgiveness, thank you, loving, I'm sorry. I am sorry, sir. I am sorry. So there is no place that I am the judge, I have ego, I am going to, no. My God will not, the God that I believe, I will never get offended, sir. That God has taught me and I'm trying to practice. I'm trying to practice forgiveness, thank you, gratitude. So I'm not going to get offended. Rather, I'm going to ask him that you abused my country of origin, India, as this, that. Okay, fine, sir. Why is that? Can I do something? And I consider myself a global citizen. You started abusing my religion. You started abusing my parents. You started abusing me. Sir, I'm just asking you if you could explain. We can talk, or else I'm okay. You can do whatever. I am not going to be in a reactive state and do something. Thank you. I'll repeat that once again. I love that mantra today. And another point, do not hesitate to pick good things from anybody. Do not hesitate. Immediately try and adopt that. And in today's show, with my purpose in this gels, this aligns very well with my purpose of life that you just mentioned today. Ramona ji, thank you so much. I'm sorry. And I forgive everyone. I forgive myself. And I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Please join in on the conversation, and on Facebook, on YouTube. You can find us at Y Media. We'd love to hear your thoughts, or you can give Yudhvir Jaswal a call, because everybody has your phone number. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed today's discussion. Thank you.